First things first, I'm going to start preparing our different takoyaki. So usually this recipe uses bits of braised octopus in there. They are very, very delicious, but finding octopus on the island is kind of tough. And then finding octopus without having to cook it myself was near impossible. So I just skipped that. We're going to be using hot dogs instead. They're kind of like octopus. They are surprisingly similar in texture and flavor, but they're also just easy to find, and I really like their flavor. So the first recipe we're going to do is going to be, and you're all welcome to sort of change this if you don't want it, but we're going to do hot dogs with baked beans and have a little mustard to dip them in. So that's going to be our first takoyaki, just to sort of like show you that you can do absolutely anything you want with these. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get those started and prepped up right now. And as I prep these, I'll go through sort of what we're going to use each one for, basically. So our first one is going to be the hot dogs and baked beans. And so I've found that about one hot dog will make 24 of these. But I'm going to do two and just do a little bit bigger pieces. They might peek out of the side, but it's okay. It's not the end of the world. You want them to be cut kind of like you would for maybe mac and cheese. I don't know if you guys put hot dogs in mac and cheese like I do. But a nice little thick, round, something like that. That's about the same size of the octopus you put into, so it kind of gives you a good idea of what you're going to be using. But hot dogs, obviously super, super tasty, nice and salty, which is really what this is all about. This is classically a street food that you would get on the streets, and it is a very, very sort of salty treat. It gets a lot of preserved fish on it. It's katsuobushi or bonito flakes. Will go on top, and then a very salty, sweet sauce as well. So salt and sort of hot. They're designed to be eaten as hot as possible. We probably won't get super hot today. I don't want anybody to burn themselves. But so the hot dog one, that's super easy. One of the things I really like about this is once you whip the batter up, it's basically done. You just are ready to go. Like once you get your stuff cut up, you can just jump right into the whole process. Just something you guys maybe have never heard of before we're going to mess around with today is textured vegetable protein. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that before. I got this at the Caribbean store in Vineyard Haven by the gas station. It comes in a bag. It's little pieces of gluten from flour. What they do is they make a dough, and then you wash the flour with water. And what you're doing is you're washing out the starch, and you can save that starch and use it later as a thickener. But when you're done, what you get is all the wheat protein, and that is what this is. You take that, you cook it, and then you chop it up and dry it, and that's what you get here. So all we have to do, and it's really nice, one of the things I really like about this is you can flavor it however you want, is you literally just put it in a bowl with liquid. And it doesn't matter what liquid. You can use water, you can use milk, you can use a spicy sauce if you want to, and then you just wait. And it's already cooked, so it just needs to hydrate. And this is just going to be a little bit of an experience for everybody to try this out. But you can use really nice, tasty broths if you want to. But we're just going to use water just to get it hydrated so you can sort of see what it tastes like as a base level. And so with that, we're going to do a bit of sort of like a Asian-inspired thing. We're going to use a little bit of sesame oil when we cook it instead of normal oil. And we're going to put a little 5-spice and sesame seeds on there. So that's going to give it kind of a nice little like sesame Asian influence. And you'll still be really just tasting the TVP or textured vegetable protein, or seitan, sometimes called as well. You might have heard it as that. Usually seitan is more of like a thin sheet. But it's really good. I absolutely love it as like a chicken substitute in barbecue or basically anything you want, any stir fries. It's really, really fun. So that's going to be another one of our fillings. Another one we're going to do is we're going to do cheese. We got some cheese. I had some nice mozzarella, but it got disappeared. So we're going to use cheddar instead. And we're just going to do a little Italian seasoning, and then we're going to dip that in marinara. So basically like a mozzarella ball. If any of you guys went to our open house last year, I actually made these for the open house, so you may have seen them before. And cheese is really simple. We actually probably won't use this whole thing, but you just want to cut it into a cube that is small enough for these this little grill here. We want it to basically sit in the center, so that's kind of the size we're going for. So I'll probably cut this in half this way, and then I'm hoping to get about 24 here. So that's 2 already, so I need 12 off of that. So we'll do what 4 by 3. That sound right? Sounds right. And that should give me 24 cubes, which is exactly what I want. And that will get me ready for my takoyaki. And what's going to happen is we're going to put them in there, and you can see they fit just about right in the middle. And they are going to like sort of leak out and cook and make like a really nice sort of like cheese crust, which is kind of fun. So we'll get this cheese back over here. On pretty much all of these, there's one more left too. What's the last one? What did I forget? Cheese. Oh yeah, chicken. I already did that one. So chicken. We had some canned chicken we got from the food pantry for our kids here. And so I was like, yeah, I'll give it a try. So I'm gonna put some chicken in there. We're gonna put a little garlic powder on top. Some of these scallions, and the scallions will go on a couple of the other ones as well, just because they're a really nice sort of special treat. And this is also a classic topping you'd put on a normal octopus takoyaki. But we're also gonna use pickled ginger. So kind of sushi-ish vibes, think like sweet, almost barbecue-like chicken, with the pickled ginger kind of bringing the flavors together. And between this and the textured vegetable protein, we're kind of going a little bit more Asian, but that's one of my favorite flavor profiles. So we're gonna cut up a bunch of these green onions, and then a little bit of this pickled ginger. I'm just using sushi ginger, so it's got these nice sort of like sheets, but I'm gonna cut it into strips. I want little strips that I can sprinkle over the top. And generally you want your toppings sort of the size that you can sprinkle them, because you're gonna put your batter in, you're gonna put your protein in, you're gonna sprinkle all your toppings over the top, a little bit more batter, and then you're gonna start to make the balls. And you'll see what that looks like when we get there. But for now, I'm just getting all my prep done. So we're just gonna cut these pretty small, nice and thin, like you would for basically any sort of garnishing application. Love green onions. I don't know if you guys, I didn't have a chance to get any, but there are some really, really beautiful ones at Morning Glory right now. So if you guys have a chance, I would definitely go there to grab yourself some green onions. A little bit fresher than these ones for sure. But it doesn't matter, we're about to cook them, so yeah, they're so good. I love them on salad. I love them pretty much in anything, or on anything. Especially when it's hot, you just kind of put them on there, they cook a little bit, and they are good to go. Beautiful. So we're just going to mix those in. And I'm just getting all my mise en place done right now. So mise en place, everything in its place. One of my absolute favorite sort of culinary techniques. You do everything you possibly can before you start cooking, so that when you start cooking, everything's just right there in front of you. You don't really have to think about it. You can just kind of go. So here we go. Get some of this pickled ginger. I'm just going to take out some of the longer strips here, lay them out so I can make sort of little ribbons out of them. And there's actually classically a red ginger that is specifically used for takoyaki that's a little bit less sweet than this. It's a little bit more ginger intense, ginger forward. And when you get that, it comes in little shreds of red ginger, and that works really perfect. So you can just take it right out of the can. But it's not like sushi ginger. It's not as much of a palate cleanser. It's more of a flavoring agent. It definitely has a lot going on flavor-wise. That should be good. Easy enough to spread. Sweet. I'll just put that to the side for now. Anybody have any questions just from like the first little intro there? No? All right, cool. Sweet. We'll keep rocking going forward. So just going to do a quick check. I always like to check when I think I'm done with my prep to make sure I have everything. So I'm going to go back through the things we were talking about. I got my hot dogs with baked beans. Those are ready to go. I've got my cheese and my Italian seasoning. So those are ready to go as well. I've got my chicken and my garlic powder. That's awesome. I had some marinara back here that I'm cooking up for you guys. So we'll have that to go with the mozzarella, or I guess in this case, cheddar cheese balls. So that'll be a nice little dipper right there. That's ready to go. I've got my textured vegetable protein with my little sesame ingredients right here. Just give that a little spin. And this is pretty hard at the moment, but it will get very soft and almost like a sponge when we're done. Really, really fun ingredient. Absolutely love it. I used to have to order it online, but I found it, like I said, at the Caribbean store in Vineyard Haven right by the gas station, the Extra Mart. It's right there. And it's cheap too. I absolutely love this stuff. I can't recommend it enough for a protein replacement. Chicken, we got that. Perfect with the pickled ginger. So we're ready to go. So with that being said, let's make our dough. Or rather, our batter, I should say. So this is the batter series after all. Batters are really fun. If you guys don't cook a lot or bake a lot, baking can be really, really intense. You have to follow the recipe. If you don't follow the recipe, things don't always work out that well. Batters don't really work like that. Batters have some pretty basic properties that you need to follow, and if you follow them, it's gonna work. I put some crazy stuff in a waffle maker, and when you opened it, it was still a waffle. And the big things you need for batter are starch. In this case, we have flour. Flour is a pretty classic one to use. You need something to bind it all together. Something dry generally is a good call. You could use, I guess like a baked potato or something like that if you wanted to. But in general, you want something dry, flour, or I guess literally starch. So that's the first ingredient you need for a batter. The next one is liquid. You absolutely need some sort of liquid. Obviously, milk is a pretty classic one for like waffles, but for for this in this situation, we're actually using broth. A classic takoyaki would use a seafood broth, using usually dashi is what it's called, and that's like a seaweed, sometimes mushroom, sometimes bonito broth, but always seaweed. So anyways, we're doing 3 cups here. I'm actually upping this recipe a little bit to make sure that there's some for the staff. So, but this will make you 3 batches of 24, the recipe you have in your hand. So I find that to be about right for like a party size or like a dinner with leftovers. For me personally, I'll eat like 20 of these things if I'm like on a, I'm trying to eat. But anyway, so we're using 3 cups of flour here. So second one is liquid, and liquid can come in a lot of different forms. It doesn't have to be water. Sugar, when you're baking especially or making batters, counts as a liquid. Oil can count as a liquid as well. But with oil specifically, that is actually our third ingredient that we're going to need, and that's fat. With batters, almost all the time, you're cooking them in a pan, and they can be pretty finicky. And so if you don't have oil in there, they're going to stick. And so you don't need a lot, but you do need some sort of fat in there. It also adds a lot of flavor, but the fat really is there to make sure that that it doesn't stick. And the fat doesn't have to be oil. It can be from eggs. We're going to get a lot of our fat from eggs here, and it can be from milk as well, which is why waffles you generally put a lot of milk in. You get a nice fat. And milk also covers the protein aspect, which is very useful as well. And that's the last aspect, which is protein. You need protein because that is going to take the liquid, because batters generally are very liquidy, makes it easy to pour and work around your pan. But that protein is what's going to actually set up and solidify and work with that starch and liquid to make something that is cohesive and stays together. So you need flour or something dry, starch in general. You need liquid, and that can come in many different forms. Sugar, water, oil in some situations, or milk is a pretty classic one. You want fat. You don't need it, but you want it usually to make sure you have a nice crispy outside as well as that it doesn't stick. And then lastly, you need protein. In this case, we're going to be using eggs. Eggs are really, really useful. You could use egg substitutes as well. And we're going to put a lot of eggs in there. So for every half cup of flour, that's 1 egg. That is a lot of egg per flour. And we're doing that because we want these to be sort of hot and sort of not gooey, but we want them to be nice and moist. And so that protein is going to help trap all that moisture while still letting the ball form into a nice shape. So we've got 3 cups of flour. I'm just going to run through the recipe now and put everything in there. And as I do that, we'll talk about what it is. Obviously, leavening is very important too. Not required for batters, but it's pretty useful if you want a nice fluffy batter, which is what we're going to be doing today. So again, I'm modifying this recipe, so I'm using a full 2 tablespoons of baking powder just because I added a little bit more to this. But usually that would be that's probably a little bit too much. So I'm actually just going to use like a little halfie on this last one. And also, it's just easier to measure than trying to do 7 teaspoons. So that's your baking powder and your flour, and that's pretty much it. We're going to put a little touch of salt in here. Where did I put it? Just a little bit. Again, I don't really use a lot of salt personally. Those of you who have been cooking with me know that I'm pretty low salt, but in this situation, it's worth it. It's going to make the batter really flavorful, and it means we don't have to rely as much on our ingredients to sort of carry the show. If the batter tastes good, the ingredients they're going to taste good too, but they don't have to taste good. They're going to be sort of allowed to do what they want. So let's see. Flour, baking powder, salt. Eggs are going to go in there with the liquid. So we're ready to go. So that's pretty much it for the dry ingredients. I'm just going to give this a little whisk here. I'm going to put my soy sauce in there. So it's a tablespoon of soy sauce. I didn't up this at all because, again, it's not 100%, it's more of just like going to give it a nice sort of umami feel. So as long as you have some in there, you don't really need tons. And then I've got some veggie stock. You can literally just use water. I used water 2 nights ago when I was testing this recipe just to make sure it was okay. And it was actually one of the better ones I've ever made. So do not be bashful to use water. It's not going to kill anything. We're going to do 4.5 cups of this. So we're just going to slowly add this. I'm going to go a cup. Start to get that liquid. And once this gets kind of liquidy to the point where it's starting to get wet, I'm going to put all the eggs in there as well. So that's 1 cup. 2 cups. Yeah, perfect. We're going to go for eggs now. I'm just going to do all 6 of them. So I like to crack my eggs on a flat surface. I think you guys might have just seen that. It makes kind of like a weird break, but when you actually go to like put your finger in there, it's very easy for one-handed opening. The edge of the bowl, it always gets messy if I do that, but this seems to work pretty well. The eggs have a little membrane on the inside that sort of protects them from opening up once you crack them. And it's haven't had a broken yolk in quite a long time since I started doing this. I'm going to probably break one right now because I said that, but I didn't. Sweet. Okay, so eggs are in there. We're just going to make sure all those yolks are popped. Give them a little mix in before we go back to adding our other liquid. And this is going to be very, very thin when we're done. Well, not very thin, probably a little bit thicker than a crepe batter would be. But it's going to be thinner than, you're going to be like, how is that going to solidify? But it will. All right, so that's 3. And there should be 4 cups in here, so let's hope that. We'll see if we got gypped or not. Ooh, actually a little bit more. Lovely. Everybody loves a good bargain. So we're doing 4.5 cups of water here again because I changed the recipe. I only did that just so I could get another batch for the staff. You guys should follow what I've got on the recipe there. And we're just going to get this all mixed up. And you can't really overmix this. We don't really mind so much if there's a bit of gluten in here because of what we're doing. We're not trying to make like a muffin or something like that that's going to really care if there's a lot of gluten. So we are A-okay with mixing this. In fact, we want to make sure that it's completely mixed. We don't want any lumps. We don't want little bits of flour in there because this isn't going into an oven where it's going to get like really good sort of radiant heat. It's going into this where it's going to have direct heat from one side. We really want that that batter to be nice and thin and chunky. I think it's a little bit more water. Go up to 1/2 cup and we should be looking good. All right, let's get that all together. And a little bit of whisking isn't going to hurt either. Adding some air into this batter is A-okay. Using like whipped egg whites in a batter is actually a pretty good technique if you want something to really, really rise a lot. That's actually what a lot of people will do for a Belgian waffle recipe is they'll whip their egg whites beforehand. I don't usually do that because, I mean, for one thing, I'm kind of a lazy chef. I'm not going to lie. I like to kind of get my food done, but also I think I like a denser waffle. For me, I want something that's going to really stand up. And for me especially, I tend to be putting a lot of random stuff in my waffles. You can look at my Reuben waffle burger crazy thing that I did online if you don't trust me on that one. And so if I whip my egg whites, like it's not going to matter because they're just going to break with all the crazy stuff I put in my batter. All right, so this batter looks great. It's nice and thin. There's a couple chunks in there, but nothing too bad. And we'll keep whisking it in between every batch. We'll keep whisking it, so that's not going to be a problem at all. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, let this thinker heat up. And we're just going to go through our ingredients one more time. I'm going to ask everybody if they have anything they don't want, so I can make note of that. And I'm hopefully going to be able to make you guys all some nice little plates for snacks. And you're going to be surprised how fast it's going to come together. All right. Yes?
Can I have no beans, please?
No beans. Oh, yeah. That's what we're going to get to right now. Okay, so sweet. So what I like to usually do now that this is all mixed up is I'll put it into something with a ladle, not a ladle, a lip for pouring because we're going to be pouring. We want to have a very direct route to do that. Some people will put it in big squeeze bottles, especially if you are making quite a lot of them. But usually you have to like sort of change that a lot. So I really like this. It tends to work pretty good. And we're hoping with this recipe that I just changed up a little bit that I'm going to get 4 batches of 24 out of this. So we'll see how that goes. It might be a little shorter than the last one, but that's okay. So we're just going to pour this right in there. A little chunky. I think I could have avoided a lot of those chunks if I had mixed all my wet together and then put it in. But again, like I said, lazy chef. And this recipe particularly, it kind of doesn't matter. It tends to be pretty resilient dough. As long as you get all the flour in there, that's all that really matters. Cool. Sweet. All right, clean my hands here. All right, so I'm just going to go through and let's see. We've got our seats over here. Anybody, I'm going to try and make essentially 1 of each, so that's going to be 4 balls for you each. Does anybody have anything that they don't want? And I'll go over the recipes real quick. So first things first, we've got the hot dogs with beans. You'll be able to put as much mustard on as you want. Anybody want to change anything in that recipe? I got you with the beans. Sweet. 1 no beans. Perfect. Beautiful. 1 no beans. That'll be easy to do. Easy to, no problem at all. Great. Second recipe is going to be the chicken with the pickled ginger and garlic powder. Anybody want to change in that? Any allergies or anything like that? Cool. We're good on that. Great. So I like to hear. Next one is going to be the cheese with the Italian seasoning and again the marinara that you guys are going to be dipped yourself. Anything you want to change anything on that? No, we feel good there too. Great. That's what I'm talking about. All right, and then lastly is the textured vegetable protein with the sesame oil and the Chinese 5 spice or sesame seeds as well. Anything on that anybody needs to change? No, we're good. This is what I love. Okay, great. So one no beans, we can make that happen. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So I forgot to mention too, green onions are going to be going on the textured vegetable protein as well as the chicken variety. Everybody okay with those two? Sweet. Awesome. Let's get going then. Cool. So this is pretty close to being hot. The first batch always takes a little bit longer just because it hasn't heating up. You'll see when we get to the last batch, it's kind of crazy how fast they go. So I like a pan spray for this because it gets them really, really even. And you want to put a pretty good amount in there. You actually want a little pool of oil in the bottom of each one. If I was doing this without a pan spray, I'd be sort of pouring off of an oil. I have a jug with a little like wine, one of those, it's like a bartender thing, and that works really well for pouring them in there. But for this case, it's going to be fine. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to get these set up while this finishes heating up. And so the way this is going to work is I'm going to cook them, and then when they're done, I'm going to put them on the plates. If you guys want to, it's going to be absolute mayhem. If you want to come up and eat them while they're hot, you're welcome to. Otherwise, you can just wait until all 4 of them are cooked. I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. They are definitely designed to be eaten hot, but I couldn't really, apart from literally cooking 4 different ones at a time, which just doesn't make sense. You'll see when we get into the actual recipe. I didn't want to mess around with that. So feel free to get them when you want. If you want, just make sure you keep your plate, obviously. And then when it comes time to take them off, you can come up and I'll sort of serve it right to your plate. Let's see, how many people are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Okay, great. And feel free to grab napkins, and I'll try and make sure that there are the sauces necessary as well when the time comes. Okay, and this is getting really hot. You can see it's smoking. That's what you're looking for. And I gotta have one big plate for the staff. Okay, who's ready, guys? Let's go. Oh, my oil got a little too hot there. I'm actually gonna pour it out. That is, maybe I'm not gonna use this spray. I don't think this spray likes, so usually oil has a lot higher temperature resistance, but this spray seems to have a pretty low temp resistance. So I think I'm gonna use a different oil. Learning things every day.
What did it do?
So it's an olive oil spray, which is probably why I'm having this problem. Olive oil is a pretty low temperature resistance. It usually a smoke point is what it's actually called. And so that's probably why this is actually burning. And it shouldn't. I mean, most olive oil is fine. That's what I just used last night, and I didn't have this problem. So I'm just going to use some veggie oil so we don't have to deal with a little burnt oil flavor. We don't want that. And don't do this at home. That was very hot. And so we're just going to deal with what we got. It's too bad. It says right on it, no veggie oil, so that's probably why. So we'll just do this technique that I was telling you guys about. And usually if I get a little bit too much in there, I will just come back through with a napkin, but I think that'll be fine. What happens is if you put too much in there, they overflow, and it works out okay anyways. You just want to make sure you mix it up right before you go, and then let's rock. So you want to fill this right up till it's about even with the top on all of these, nice and flat. What's going to happen is when we put our fillings in there, it's going to overflow, and that's going to give us our edges, which are going to eventually get tucked back in, nice and safe. Good for now. All right, great. Let's see. That's sort of still hanging. We'll start with hot dogs. Why not? Everybody likes a good hot dog. So you just want to plop your protein right into each one of these. As you see, it kind of overflows. Sorry, what's that?
These are Japanese, right?
Sort of. Yeah. It's. I believe it started in Hong Kong, like as a street food. So it's been around. It's not like a. It's definitely been. It's the pan itself was used for all sorts of different things, and I don't know, some crazy person just came up with this sort of plan at the end of doing the little balls. But there's a Dutch treat as well that uses a very similar pan. It's like an apple cake, I believe. And so then we got that in there. We're just going to literally sprinkle the beans on top. I missed some there. And this is it. I know it's crazy, but like I had this 2 nights ago just to test it, just to make sure it was going to be good, and it was really freaking good. I'm like kind of in love with this, honestly. I'm going to do this a lot. This is what you'd be doing if you were doing any other sort of takoyaki as well. You'd just be sprinkling your toppings over the top. And then when you go to actually form the takoyaki, that's when you hopefully get some of these in the actual balls. And that seems good to me. Okay, cool. So now we just sort of wait a little bit as that starts to go. And I happen to know where the hot spots are on this thing, which are right here. So those are going to be the first ones that are going to be done and sort of ready to go. In the meantime, I'll just fill my my pourer up a little bit there. Okay, cool. And so I like to use chopsticks. They have a little tool that came with this, but it's not a very good tool. So I just really like chopsticks. And you kind of just sort of get a feel for it. Yeah, that looks like it's starting to go. So we're going to give it a shot. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of remember where the holes are. You want to kind of run your blade along the sides of the holes. And then what you do is you take this and you find the side of the hole and you just kind of push in to the bottom, and you'll see when you get to the right side, that's the whole bottom. We just cooked that. And so what we're doing is we're pushing that batter up and we're turning it. And what that does is that starts to create the ball. And so we're going to just go through and do this to all of them now. And some of them are going to be more cooked than others. Awesome. And as that happens, you want to sort of peel the edges together and start to sort of push them back into that hole. And what that's doing is now the batter is sort of running into that spot we just made, and it's making a sort of another side. And then in a little bit here, we'll do it one more time, and we'll finish that last side. And that's how you get your full ball. So it's kind of fun. Looks like almost like magic a little bit. Ooh, these ones, my hotspot changed on me. And that'll happen too. One thing, a lot of these pans are just like, they're just a little heating element, so it's pretty easy for the hotspot to change. You just got to kind of figure it out as you cook. But that's the process right there. You could literally just go into the side and push down, and it kind of just happens. The first time I did it, I was like, I watched a video, like a couple of videos, and I was like, it looks too easy, And then I did it, and I was like, oh, it just was that easy. And we've got quite a lot of extra filling around these. That was kind of on purpose, and you can see that as we're sort of doing this, they're starting to sort of run into the bottom. Once we get these all flipped the first time, we're going to come and make sure that that batter is fully in there. We don't want too much to stay on the sides, because what will happen is it will cook it'll completely cook, and we'll get little strands that won't really shove in there. We want to try and keep as much of this batter liquid as possible, so that when we make our last turn, it comes out and sort of seals the ball fully. If we don't do that, if we let the batter cook too much on the sides, what will happen is it's not going to hurt anything. It just means that they won't look quite as nice, because when we go to do that last turn, there'll be an open side, and it's still going to happen. Like, it's impossible to stop. You'll see when we take them off. There's a reason why when you get these on the street, they're served with a whole bunch of stuff on top of them, because they're usually not that pretty of a creation. And so we're just taking this batter from in between here, and we're sort of designating where it's all going to go, so that it'll be ready to go when the time comes. And usually about the time you're done flipping them all, you can go back to the first one you did, and it's ready to go.
What happens if you don't have one of these?
Yeah, sure. So if you don't have a takoyaki pan, you can still technically make takoyaki. It's just going to look a lot more like a pancake. So what I'd do is I'd take this and I'd on like a pan, I'd pour like maybe like 6 little like sort of patties, almost like a pancake. Put my fillings in the front, and they cook a lot faster. I'd almost immediately just fold it all together, kind of like a quesadilla, I guess, sort of. And then that's kind of your best bet as far as using this batter for something else. And that usually actually works out pretty good, I gotta say. It's a different experience. You're essentially just making like a stuffed pancake kind of, but it's still really, really tasty. So I'm gonna go back to my original one there, and we're gonna tuck this under. And when I do that, I'm just gonna try and get as much as I can from around it and sort of flip those little lips under there so that it makes a nice little hole. And when I'm done, hopefully, I'm gonna have a really nice ball out of these. And you can already start to see, I mean, maybe I'm not sure what the HD is like over there, that some of these are a little bit more cooked than others, and we're just going to pay attention to those hot spots, because they're going to be pretty consistent, at least through this cooking session, and that's going to help us later when we decide to sort of, figure out which balls we want to start with, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just completing this turn here, and making sure I get all those little edge pieces sort of just shoved in there. Don't want them on the side. We want them in our balls. Let's go for this big boy here first.
How much do one of these little things cost?
I bought this one on Amazon for $40. So not too bad. And it came with a bunch of different things. Like it came with like a breakfast plate for like doing flat top eggs, and it came with like a little thing for doing, you know, pancakes or like egg patties. It was a pretty good deal, I'd say. I mean, I kind of was in like an obsessive state. I was like, I want to cook takoyaki, and it's kind of the only way to really do it at home. You know, like I said, you can do the pancake method, but this just turns out a better product in the end.
Have you tried putting mini muffin pan on top of like a panini maker or a grill or anything like that?
No, but you know, I bet you that would probably work. You know, in situations like that, you obviously just got to worry about, you know, open flame hotness. Not like open flame, but like hot metal that you can just easily touch. But yeah, as long as you're safe, I think that would probably work pretty well.
And yours that you're looking at is more plastic, or what is that, Teflon? What is
Yeah, so it's just yeah, exactly. It's just non-stick coated metal, and then in the underside is a which you may have seen when I took the thing off. It's just a heating rod, just a normal induction heating rod. So again, I'm turning these over, and I can already tell that my last ones are a little bit slower here, and so the batter inside is getting a little too cooked, but that's okay. I'm just going to go as fast as I can. This thing doesn't have like a temperature setting. You can get really expensive ones that have temperature settings, but it's not worth it. You kind of full speed is the way to go anytime you're cooking. So again, we're just rocking these back in, and it's messy. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not gonna be perfect. This last one especially, and I'm still pretty new to this. I gotta say, like I only got this maybe 4 or 5 months ago, so I'm really just kind of still practicing myself. This is nowhere near as good as you're gonna find in professional sort of street stalls. But they're still going to be really good. It's still like a really, really fun experience, and it still really tastes. So we're going to go back to our original here and give that another little flip. They should start to be coming together pretty good here. Get something that actually is easy to handle. Yeah, there we go. So you just want to flip them when you get sort of crispy sides. You want to turn them so that those crispy sides are up and the other sides can cook. And if you can, get some of those sort of edge cases back in there. It doesn't always work out super well. These are different beans than I used last night, or 2 nights ago. So I think they're giving me a little bit of, they got a lot of starch and protein in them themselves, so they're kind of cooking into their own little batter. So you just, I mean, you want to clean your sticks whenever you can. If I'm at home cooking for myself, I usually just use my mouth. It's because it's really tasty that way. But obviously for you guys, I'm using a paper towel.
Come on, we don't care.
I gotta follow food safety regulations. Okay, sweet. These are looking nice. And just that sound too. I love that little sizzle that they make. And they're starting to cook. So just waiting for my first one to be done, and then once my first one's done, I'll put one of the less cooked ones into that hole, because that's obviously one of the hotter holes. And that way they usually end up all being done close-ish to the same time. And I'm just telling how well these are cooking by flipping them. You can see right there with this one, it kind of didn't seal that well because it was one of the last ones that I flipped. Don't worry, that one's going to staff.
Yeah, but it's just how it looks, right? It doesn't taste any different.
Oh no! It'll taste absolutely amazing. It definitely does not. It is entirely how it looks. And again, that's one of the reasons why when these are served classically, they just get a whole bunch of sauce put on top of them. So, all right, I'm gonna just plate them. This is just easier to go to one place, and then from here I'll start putting them out. But we are about to start doing our first run. So again, if you want to, as I'm sort of making the next batch, feel free to come up and try your first one. But you certainly don't have to. You're all welcome to just wait until maybe even the second one's out, or all 4. It's going to be a little chaotic, but I think you guys are going to figure it out.
Hey, Chris,
Yeah.
is any one of those beanless?
I'll make a special one for you in the next run. Don't you worry.
Okay.
Yeah, you saw me doing it too, and I was just
I
like...
did, and I thought about saying something, and then I thought, well, no, that'd be rude.
No, it would have been anything but rude. It would have been exactly what I needed at the time.
If you don't mind. Thank
Yeah, of course, it won't be a thing. It'll take me no time at all.
you. All right, thanks.
There'll be space. I even got a couple extra hot dog pieces over there. So. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, you're done.
5 minutes?
Yeah, it's like, I think in total it's like 10 minutes per batch or so, depending. And it's going to get better as we go here, and this whole thing gets hotter. Oh yeah, see. That's getting a nice little body. That's like the best thing ever when you flip it over and it's got a little crispy on it. Oh, so good. You go there. That's done. I always forget like which ones I've done and stuff, so you flip one over and you're like, oh, you've been sitting there for a little while. Great. I think we got enough for everybody here. Let's go ahead and start plating some of these. So I don't know, just a little side fact here. In chopstick culture, the higher up you hold your chopsticks, apparently like the higher class you're supposed to be. I just saying. They also have really, really long chopsticks that are specifically for cooking. They kind of break that whole mold because chefs aren't. I guess that's not true. Chefs are pretty much like a high class of people because they feed everybody. They keep everyone in health. So classically, like I said, you'd be getting this on the street, and somebody would hand this to you, and you would be forced to eat it immediately. Just like that. It's part of the experience. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so hot. Yeah, it's a good idea to let them cool down. So what'll happen is, when they're hot like that, all the proteins and stuff are still kind of liquid, and so they that's so hot. I love it. And so because they're kind of liquid, you get like it's gooey inside, and it really does kind of like burn your mouth. And that's what it's all about. Like there's like literally it's part of the takoyaki culture to try and eat them as hot as possible. It's a really kind of fun aspect of the whole experience. So that's our first one. We're gonna jump right into the next one. We're not even gonna delay at all. So again, this thing is still super hot. Oh geez, that was way too much oil. Looks like we're using the paper towel technique on this one.
So are we allowed to get started?
Yeah, please do.
We're a one at a time.
100%. Yeah. Go right ahead. Just make sure you keep your plate in your hand.
Yes.
And then just bring it back up again whenever the time comes for the next one. So sometimes you just don't do it right the first time, but that's okay. We got techniques for this.
So Chris, I'm going to remind you now.
Yes, hot dog.
One hot dog
with
no beans, please.
I know I'm gonna make you two just because I feel so bad about it. How about that?
Yeah, thank you. Good. I like hot dogs.
Okay. Yeah, hot dogs. Cool. And this one has so much extra oil. Okay, great, perfect. We'll just put that over there for later. So again, every time you do this, you want to make sure you re-whip your batter, just because pieces of it will sort of come to the top. You want to make sure it's nice and put together.
What in that batter smells sweet?
I think it's just the flour, honestly. I don't know. I know. It's crazy. I think
Doesn't it smell sweet?
it's something. I'm not sure because I also I agree. It does kind of smell a little sweet. All right, let's see. Let's do chicken.
And 2 hot dogs.
Yes.
3 hard-boiled eggs.
Here, you know what? Let me just pop these in right now, so I don't forget. And 2 I don't know what that's from. It sounds like a nursery rhyme or something.
No, it's a Marx Brothers routine.
Oh, okay. Oh, I love a good Marx Brothers routine.
Feels like everybody's going to come up.
Yeah, they're not done.
Good mind, Jen.
Yes, dear.
Great. So again, we got our protein in there. Now we're going to go to the topping phase. We're going to put a little bit more batter in there just to make sure there's enough here for our silk. Perfect. Okay, great. So for the chicken, we're just going to go with a little bit of garlic powder here. A little bit of these green onions. and some of this pickled ginger.
Not on the hot, no.
I mean, pickled ginger on a hot dog would be good, honestly. I love pickled ginger on sushi. Ginger is one of my absolute favorite flavors in the entire world, I would say. But that's just me. What does everybody think?
Good. Tasty.
When you go home, Google Marx Brothers 3 hard-boiled eggs.
3 hard-boiled eggs, Marx Brothers. You got it.
I'm sure it'll be on YouTube somewhere.
All right, so I'm not even going to delay here because this is a really nice hot pan now. So I'm just going to immediately go back in right where I found my hot spot last time and start testing these out. So it didn't go yet, so I'm a little early. We're going to try one more. Ooh, this one's about to go. Perfect. There we go. So one of the fun, like really the most fun part about this is figuring out what you're going to put in your next batch. Like the first one I made was very, very basic and simple. I didn't even use like a protein. I just put toppings on top just to like make sure I could get the sort of batter balls working. And it actually didn't work out that well because part of the sort of process is putting your filling in there and having it sort of overflow. And so I learned that lesson pretty quick, that you kind of need a little bit of filling to sort of make it work. But you can put literally anything in here, and you can change the batter as you need. Like if you wanted to do a more sweet filling, like apples or something like that, you could just put a little cinnamon in the batter. I think that would work really, really good, and put a little sugar in there as well, replacing a little bit of the water with that sugar.
So it's a Chinese dish, not a Japanese dish.
I unfortunately,
Hong Kong.
yeah, it's Hong Kong. So it's kind of like it's Hong Kong being kind of a really big port city. It's from all over the place. There's a pan very similar to this that is used in Dutch cooking to make an apple cake. So I don't know if the filling, the octopus filling in particular, is a very unique to Hong Kong. But this technique of cooking, I don't know what's going on with this one.
There's a Swedish pancake that comes in balls too.
Yeah, so exactly. So it's kind of been it's been around as far as cooking techniques. It's a fun way to do things, you know, little balls of whatever you're doing. All right, so this one's going to be kind of a little bit more classic to octopus with the ginger and scallions. Usually you'd have ginger, scallions, and then little pieces of fried tempura that have been sprinkled over the top. So there's a little bit of crunch in there too. I couldn't find that, so that's why we're not doing it today. So these are cooking really fast. I don't want them to do what they did last time, so I'm just going to make sure I get the balls sort of made. You can always flip them and cook them more later, but your first step here is to sort of make your ball and get that batter doing its sort of work. So the faster you can do that, the better chance you're going to have of having a nice round-looking ball. It's going to be really tasty. This was like the hottest one right here. I love it.
Do you mind if I take a picture?
Please do. No, of course. Yeah, 100%. This is open media zone here. I am not shy.
Would you consider these a main course or an appetizer?
I ate them for dinner all the time, but they can be both. I think realistically, like an appetizer, it's street food, right? So like that whole concept of like having a bunch of snacks, I think is kind of like inherent to it. But yeah, they can be a main course easily, especially depending on what you put in them. One thing I'm very excited for this year is making a Thanksgiving leftover takoyaki. I'm going to take stuffing and I'm going to blend it up in a blender with some eggs and some chicken stock, and that's how I'm going to make my batter. So I'm like really, really excited about that. And then I'm going to put some turkey and dip it in.
Cranberry.
I'm instead of putting cranberry in it, I'm going to make what's called a gastrique, which is vinegar reduced with sugar. So I'm going to make a cranberry gastrique to put over the top of it. It's going to be amazing. We won't be doing that here because takoyakis will be gone, but I'll tell you how it goes if you come to my November program. I don't know if I'll actually be in this state at the time, so sorry everybody.
It's all right, I can travel.
And I haven't even made it before. Like I'm literally just going to go off the cuff. I'm going to take some leftover stuffing and put it in a blender. And that's why I love batter so much. Is if it looks right and you put enough eggs in there and enough liquid, it's going to be fine. Like the eggs really like, and I probably should have made this more important. The protein is probably the most important aspect of the batter. Without that, it's really not going anywhere. You could literally just put eggs in this thing and it'd be delicious, right? But you need that protein. That's what makes it set. That's what makes it be able to hold this shape and form. The starch obviously helps as being, part of the equation, but the protein is really like the big one. So make sure, if you're ever worried, oh no, is this going to work? Just put another egg in there. You'll be fine.
Oh, yeah, so if you were to, when you make a hamburger, do you ever make hamburger?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay, what do you put in to bind it?
In a hamburger, like if I'm just like making like grilled burgers or something.
Yeah, if you're making a grilled burger and you've got some chopped meat, what do you
Yeah,
add to it to bind it?
sure. Usually for me, it would just be the fat. You want to have a decent amount of fat content, and the fat will act as a binding agent. And then when you cook it, it'll melt, and you'll be left with just meat behind. So for me, just the right amount of fat usually helps with keeping burgers together. I'm usually a venison eater, so for me, like I'll usually get some beef lard to put into, or not lard, whatever they call it, tallow, to put into mine. But
So if you're going to buy chopped meat, what would you get, 80%, 85%?
I try lately. I try to get whatever's on sale.
But
like my ideal is definitely lean.
80 to 85.
My deal is definitely lean. I really just, like I said, I grew up eating venison. I've been eating venison my whole life, so lean meat is just where my brain wants to go. It's what I think it likes the best. Just while these are cooking, I'm just gonna go ahead and drain this. So these are nice and soft now. You can see they squish and the water comes out. That's how you know they're done. They're really good. It's weird. Your mind is gonna be like, what's happening when you eat these? You won't be able to tell as much when they're actually in the takoyaki, but I think I'll probably have a couple extras here, so I'll put some of them on your plates just so you can sort of try what they taste like, plain, and it's just kind of a fun experience. What I really like to do with these is I'll put, after they're cooked, quote unquote cooked like that, I will, you want to try one? I'll put them in a sauce or like a pickle liquid, and they'll, over like the day, they'll absorb that liquid and they'll start to taste just like it. So if you've got like a really favorite hot pepper brand or something like that, you can put it right in there. It's really, really nice. You want to try some? There you go, Leo. Try some of those.
I want to try one.
Oh yeah, here, I got you.
Everybody's eating except me. What is this again?
That's textured vegetable protein. So it's just the gluten from, all right, there's our first one. It's just the gluten from bread. So you make a bread dough and then you wash the starch out, and you get that left behind basically. I really like it. I really like the texture. Obviously it doesn't taste like a lot right now, but it tastes like what you put it in. So what I'll usually do for that is I really like it with like a gochujang barbecue sauce, and then I'll cook that with like a bunch of eggplant and peppers and onions, just whatever I can find basically. It's a really nice product, and I usually have to deal with like the pea size. There's a pea size version you can buy, and that's what I've been ordering online. But when I found these big ones, it just like it made me so dang happy. All right, that's right. I forgot. One of these is going to be the beanless hot dog. Oh, you got a plate. Well, it's fine.
Sorry.
We got extra plates. Extra plates are no problem.
Oh, because you put the little doodad on it.
Yeah. And another one.
I think you said you made 2 hot dogs.
I did.
Okay. Just trying to remind you now.
Yep. They are these two right here. Got a little bit of green onions in there, but in one. But okay, sweet. I'm just gonna start filling up these plates. Those of you who have plates, if you want to come up again, let's do that. I'll get you your 2 hot doggies.
Okay. And one of the... Yeah,
Another
thanks.
one, of
Thank
course.
Thank you.
Good catch. So this one should be good just as it is. With the pickled ginger, that kind of acts as your sauce, let's say.
Thank you.
Of course.
May I get one of those?
Oh yeah. Please. Yeah, you can just get right in there. We're gonna cook them, so it's okay if you guys touch them.
We can just try the gluten like that?
Yeah. Go for it. Yep. Yeah, we're gonna cook them, so it's okay if you guys touch them. It's not gonna be problematic. That's for you, Leo. Do you want me to get you 2? One for your pop too? Yeah. Great. There we go. course. So happy to be able to share with you guys my little obsessions that I always have.
Thank you.
Of course.
Oh, thank you.
Of course.
And is this that?
Yeah, that's the textured vegetable protein. Here, I'll get you a couple
Oh,
pieces
thank
to
you.
try.
Great, thanks.
And that was so easy to do. You saw me. I literally just put cold water on that. Like,
What do you use that for? What do you do?
I just use it like as like a chicken and like a stir fry. I also like to leave it like I'll marinate it. Basically, it works really well as a marinade because it just absorbs everything. It's like a little sponge. It just absorbs flavors. So if you marinate it, it usually ends up tasting just like the marinade. It's a really
Okay, this
fabulous
is a
way.
chicken, right?
No, that's one of the hot dog ones, and then also a chicken on top of it.
Okay, I'll take a look at them. Thank you.
Okay, so there's our sort of batch ones. And anything that gets left over too, I'll be serving to the staff. So. Great. Next. So we're just gonna jump right into the next one.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be able to provide.
What is the next one?
The next one we're gonna go for. I think I'm gonna save the textured vegetable protein for last, since everybody's had kind of like a little sample now. I just not doing well today. We're just gonna go back. We're going to the OG style. Next one. So the next one is going to be, what is the next one? Cheese. We're gonna do cheese with marinara. That's what we're gonna do. Cheese ones are one of my favorite ones to do because they're just really easy to deal with. What do you guys think? Do you like the pickled ginger in there? Yeah, the pickled ginger it's just so freaking good. Okay, cool. Let me get this marinara ready for you all for when that comes off. So this is a little bit hot. Not too hot. It's just warm right now, but I just wanted to make sure that was available for you guys all for flavor. I'm just going to pour the rest of this in here now. I'm hoping I have enough. I might have to make a little bit more batter. I purposely added more into this recipe, but so it goes. I think I'll be okay. Okay, great. We're going to need this. And these work really good if you like cook them beforehand. You can heat them up in the oven, and what will happen is because they're little pockets, the oven will get them really hot, and they'll kind of puff back up again. They actually do work pretty well as leftovers, despite the fact that they're classically eaten very fresh. Okay, sweet cheese time. Cheese one's really fun because the cheese kind of like helps your batter go further because when it melts, it makes basically more batter.
Did you ever put in like pizza spices on top?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually put a little bit of Italian seasoning on top of this one. 100% pizza all the time. Thought I did my math right. Well, maybe I just missed. I think I just missed those two. Either somebody got extra cheese, or I didn't want anybody to have not enough cheese. So, all right, great. We'll just put a little bit more on top here. I think that's gonna be just enough left over for the last batch. So a little bit of just gonna. These around. Yeah, there we go. And Italian seasoning on top. Perfect. Not going to need this anymore because we're doing sesame oil for our last one. Let those go. Sesame oil, that's the last one. Let's go on that. Start to do a little cleanup over here. Okay, let's go. So this thing should be pretty hot yet again. Once you go with this one, like once you really start, it kind of just goes, and it really is nice and fast. So we're just testing very close. Not yet though.
Right.
Yeah, can you guys smell the herbs? This like cooking takoyaki is such like there's a reason why it's a really popular street food. Like the smell itself, like it's an open griddle, right? So it's why I love going to like Dock Street because you can just you get to smell your breakfast being made.
Oh, that's true.
All right, this one. There we go. Oh, so close. I'm just gonna let it sit for a little bit. This one taking a little bit longer. I think that last one took a lot of heat out of it. Here we go. Come on. Definitely cooking. Yeah, we're almost. Man.
Slow down.
Yeah, I don't know what happened here. I'm like a little. My part of my brain is like, oh no, your thing is broken. But I don't think it is. I think I'm just. There's a lot of cheese in here, and so the cheese is a little bit heavier than any of the other toppings we've done.
It's smoking.
Yeah, it's definitely cooking. Exactly. Like, there's no way this is. Come on. There we go. Now they're gonna start going. Just need to show them how it's done. Whoopsie. That's fine. The cheese ones are really great because pretty much no matter what you do, you're going to have a really nice cheese, sort of crispy edge, and that's always just the best.
How are these different from ravioli?
So ravioli, you would make like a pasta dough and then stuff it.
So it's a different dough?
Yeah, it's a dough as opposed to a batter, right? So that's kind of like, I guess that's like the main difference is a dough versus batter. But yeah, that's basically it, I think. Otherwise, you could put basically the same things in here. Ravioli tends to be like more of a liquid filling as well, whereas these, you have like sort of a solid piece that you're putting into the liquid batter.
So what isn't dough that's not in batter or vice versa?
Dough tends to be something you can work with your hands. Batter, I would not recommend working with your hands because it's generally a liquid and it's going to be very, very messy. So I think that would be like my main distinguishing feature between the two is that with a dough you're working with your hands probably. But with a batter, you're likely either pouring it or ladling it, and you probably don't want to touch it.
But is it the same ingredients, just different amounts?
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, it usually also doughs don't always have eggs. In fact, most of the time they're not unless they're enriched doughs.
Yeah.
Whereas batters, is pretty much the cornerstone of a batter is egg or some form of protein that is a binder, I would say. You can already smell that cheddar going. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, I'm so excited. These ones are probably my favorite ones of the ones we've made. Granted, I haven't tried the chicken ones yet. I should probably try one of those.
Very good.
All right, I'll take chicken's pretty close, but I do just love cheese really a lot. So the cheese one pretty much takes the cake every single time. Also because they're really easy, and these ones you'll probably find I'll have the best tight balls on because the cheese helps to sort of fill the gaps. And again, this technique that I'm doing here, it looks, I don't know if it looks hard or not to you guys, but once you start to do it, it's kind of amazing how easy it actually is. It kind of just like happens. The pan is very well designed. It really is designed to do this. And the non-stick really helps as well as obviously making sure you grease your pan nice and heavily. Oh, I love cheese so much. Does anybody have any questions, by the way? We've been talking for a while. You guys have been pretty good at keeping them up, but just want to make sure that there's space for those in case anybody has anything that's popped up. It doesn't have to be about takoyaki, too. I'm here. I am a wealth of knowledge, usually kitchen-related, but not guaranteed. So anything at all, like, even if you want to know. I can't tell you what the weather's going to be in a week, though. I have no idea.
So when we're in Mexico, when we buy eggs, they're just lined up on the
Yeah.
counters. They're not refrigerated.
Yep.
And I heard that it's because we wash the eggs here.
Yep.
And we take that membrane, like that membrane's on there. It's they'll stay.
Yeah, exactly. So I have egg chickens at home, and we don't refrigerate our eggs at all, and they usually last up to 3 weeks. Essentially, you can imagine that whatever the gestation period is for a chicken, that's probably how long your eggs are going to last without going bad. So I think it's like 27 days or 24 days. They'll last for a really long time, and they do. They have a bit of a coating on the outside. They're permeable, so air can get in. So they'll dry out. Usually, what will happen first, and then once they start to get dry, bacteria can sometimes get in there. But as long as they're not cracked, bacteria can't really get through those holes that well. So they're very well protected. But what we do here is we usually end up bleaching our eggs to kill the bacteria. But then what that does is it opens them up. It's a fresh breeding ground, and they'll go absolutely crazy. So at that point, you need to refrigerate them, or you're going to end up with problems. But yeah, I've had eggs that will have lasted, like I said, for up to 3 weeks, just outside of the fridge, as long as they're fresh. And you got to also imagine too, the eggs you get at the grocery store aren't that fresh. You know, like they're decently fresh to you, but realistically, those things have been probably, going around before they got to you, and they've been refrigerated that whole time. But they're not that new. So refrigeration is going to extend the life of anything for sure. It just by its nature is going to. I'm also used to doing this with mozzarella. I'm realizing this cheddar is a little bit more has a lot more fat content, particularly the grease aspect. So some of these are working out really good. Some of them are definitely falling apart. But don't worry, those ones all go to staff. Oh man, it's like frying in the cheese. I love this. Cheddar is just such a fabulous little beast, but it is not the same as mozzarella. So it's sort of changing our recipe, and we just got to kind of change with it. These would definitely be a better one to let cool before you go to town. I'm just going to throw that out there. Cheddar is a vicious beast when it is hot. It will burn you, so just be careful with these ones. I'm going to start taking a couple of them off too. You can literally hear it. Oh wow, yeah. These cheddar was an interesting. What's the word? Audible, but we're going with it.
What about the sauce you made?
It's right there.
Oh, it's for dipping.
Yeah. Yeah, you generally don't want to put liquid in these because that's going to make the batter not set very well. So they're very dippable, or put the sauce on top is a really a classic technique. Yeah, it's crazy. So much cheddar. This one in the corner is like, I don't know what's going on with him. So yeah, different cheeses are going to give you different results, which is what we're learning right now. I do classically use mozzarella. Mozzarella has a lot more water in it, so when it melts, it tends to stay together. Whereas cheddar and some other cheeses, it can be very greasy, which is what we're seeing right here. So when it melts, it tends to sort of liquefy completely. So melting cheese is probably not your best bet for this in the future, but this is still going to be really tasty. I guarantee it. No more Zoom classes. I think we're officially, at least for the moment, we're sticking with this until we get some changes maybe to our staffing potentially. But for now, I think we're just going to stick with this. We've got the camera recording. I actually meant to check on that. It's still recording. That's great. I'm so excited. So we'll actually be able to put these online. So we'll have a bit of a legacy for those who may have missed it. But yeah, unfortunately, Zoom I think is off the menu for now. I know, right? I do too. This is very similar. We're cooking full steam on pretty much all of our batters, so it's got a similar kind of vibe. If people want to start coming up, I've got some ready to go here, so feel free to just pop on up here, and I'll lay them out for you. And again, yeah, make sure to take a little marinara and either drizzle it on top or put it on the side for dipping. I would wait on these. Definitely wait on these. They're super hot right now. Of course. And there are forks up here too. This is one of the ones that's a little more messy, so it might be fork worthy. Go, of course. All right, Leo, I'm going to do same deal as last time. I'm going to double you up, yeah?
Yeah.
And here, I'm going to make sure you get some marinara. There you go.
Can I have a fork?
Oh yeah, of course you can. There you go, my dude.
Good boy.
Emma's here.
You got it? Yeah, you got it.
All right, here's nice.
Thank you.
Of course.
$6 a month.
Yeah, it's like, it's the best time of the month.
Are you down staff members?
Yeah, we're actually hiring right now. We have signs out front, so if you know anybody who wants to be a librarian, or if you yourself have been considering being a librarian, please do apply. We would love to have you on staff.
Did you replace Emily yet?
Sort of, yeah. We got Claudia right now. She's slaying it, honestly. So,
Oh, good.
I cannot speak to her desire to continue doing it, but I think she's rocking it right now. So, this one's very hot. I just took it off. So.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you. We're doing good on time too. Sometimes I really like when things work out,
Oh, thank you.
Of course. Very hot. So I've got two very patient people here, I think. I know one of them back there. Okay, cool. I just wanted to... Okay, you take these home and heat them up again if you want to. But I just noticed it. I was like, somebody's got a good willpower over here.
What happened?
And of course, this is what I took out first. So, ooh. Oh, that was good. Okie dokie. I mean, how can you go wrong with a little bit of fried cheese,
No, that's good.
And again, you got to think about the fact that I normally would do that with mozzarella, so the flavors are going to be a little bit different for sure. And you can see this pan is like screaming hot now. Once it starts to go, it kind of never stops. All right, we are on to the last one. I'm just going to clean this out a little bit because this one has a little bit more of a gentle flavor, so I want to make sure you guys sort of can see the difference. I don't want to get too much cheese in there.
You all right?
I just going to get a closer view of oil, but I realized you're switching over to sesame oil.
Oh, yeah, yep. And I'm going to try and go as fast as I can on this one because sesame oil does not have a great smoke point. So
You gonna be on the library website?
this is going to be on the YouTube, yeah. So Edgartown Library YouTube. If you just search for Edgartown Library on YouTube or just in Google Edgartown Library YouTube, you'll find it.
So it's not at the library website?
No. There is a link there under the programs, but honestly, if you just Google search Edgartown Library YouTube, that's going to be your best bet. I think that's probably all I'm going to have for this batter, so I'm going to skip those other ones. Perfect. And then we're going to go textured vegetable protein. I like to use the bigger pieces, or even just use two. This stuff is really fabulous. I don't know if everybody has had a chance to try it, or if I've like converted you to a new way of life right now. But it's just like, it's funny, a lot of people view this as like a replacement for meat, but for me, it's like a treat. Like I have been seeking this for most of my life after I had it one time at a restaurant, and I haven't been able to find it. And when I found these, like my brain lit up with joy. So they're really, really tasty.
Chris, you can get seitan and electronics and Stop and Shop. They both have.
So they have this big stuff?
Not the vegetable protein, but it's seasoned already. It comes in cubes. Seitan.
Oh, they do? Oh, sweet. I didn't know. I love seitan so much. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, TVP. So we're going to do a little bit of Chinese 5-spice here. Just a little bit. This stuff is pretty strong. And so this batter, if I was like wanting to, I would put a little bit of extra salt or soy sauce in, and also a little bit of sugar in the batter, because this is a very warm seasoning. You can already smell it. It smells kind of like pumpkin spice, right? And so I want a little bit of sweetness to sort of like trick myself, but then I want extra salt to sort of counter that. so that whoa, I thought there would be a. Well, I guess we're just gonna have a decent amount of sesame seeds. I freaking love sesame seeds.
So could you put like cream corn in the batter or anything?
See, why not? Yeah, for sure. Again, as long as you sort of follow the same sort of ratios of liquid, like if you're putting cream corn in, that's fairly wet. So I would maybe take out, like if you're putting a cup of cream corn in, maybe take out like half a cup of water or something like that. But that's also going to make it a little chunkier, which isn't going to be the end of the world. That's essentially just sort of, when you're doing this, you're going to want to make sure you put more batter in because you already have some of the filling in there because the corn is in there, right? You generally want as much batter in here as possible or it's not going to make good edges. So if you're filling that batter with corn, you want to maybe put a little less toppings on.
Have you tried any rice flour to make it more Asian?
I haven't personally, but I don't see why it wouldn't work. Like I said, this batter is really, really, really resilient. So you can kind of do whatever you want with it. And rice flour is definitely a lot more starchy, which is good. You want starch. So you could probably even go even thinner on the batter. I don't know how it would rise though. I'm not sure if it would hold as well. And that's okay. You know, if you can see some of them already deflate, and that's just kind of what it is. But that's the only thing I could think of that might be sort of like a detriment to rice flour. But yeah, 100% you could use rice flour.
Have you ever made, I haven't come down here, but did you ever do bao buns?
Yeah, we did them in the spring for the dough series. We did bao buns, and they were so good. I mean, I really enjoy them. Bao is one of my favorite things to cook. Actually, the recipe I use for bao is a hack recipe. It only needs to rise for half an hour. It's a quick rise recipe where you actually let it sort of proof, like rapid proof, while it's steaming. And so I really like that recipe because you can do it really quick. But a classic bao, you know, you'd make the dough and then let it rest for 2 hours, or rise for 2 hours before you go and make your buns. But absolutely love bao. Definitely have done it before here. It's so tasty. So this one got little like pancakes here because of the overflow, and that's just what it is. You usually don't want to make not a full batter, but it's what it is. We got little extra pancakes, and this batter is very similar to a pancake batter. If you look at a pancake batter next to this, the big things you're going to see are going to be obviously using dashi instead of milk or water, and then just the amount of eggs. There's just a lot more eggs, and that's just kind of because you really want it to have a nice texture and a nice resiliency. Ooh, this pan is so hot right now. Oh my gosh.
Could we just stick this batter in my pancake?
Yeah, for sure.
That's the same
They'd be like really, really thick. Like they'd be dense pancakes. You know, you can tell when you're eating this. Like it's definitely got some to it. You know, from all the eggs. But yeah, you can definitely make pancakes. And like that's kind of how I suggest doing this if you don't have one of these pans. Is essentially make a little pancake and then kind of like fold the edges over, almost like you're doing like a quesadilla kind of. And that works out decent. It's definitely. I mean, not to say that these are incredibly beautiful themselves, but definitely a little more ugly. But it works. It works. You get a nice little tasty treat when you're done.
So, how long does it take for you to cook it?
You've seen me do now. This is the 4th batch, and it's gotten a little bit shorter every single time. I think. According to the recipe, it's 10 minutes. It's 3 minutes, and then 4 minutes before they're done. I think in practice that seems about right. About 10 minutes per batch-ish feels good. But I always like to cook mine a little bit longer too because I like the crispy outsides. But yeah, I'd say 10 minutes to done. And again, when you're eating this like on the street, you actually don't want them completely cooked. You want them to be a little bit gooey inside still, so that when you eat them, they sort of explode and burn your mouth. It's just like part of the culture. It's kind of crazy. It's like a challenge, you know. Eat the whole thing of takoyaki before your friend, even though they're so hot. So, all right, not too shabby. I really like this batter. Just like, you know, obviously we also put a lot of baking powder in there too, compared to like what I do for a pancake batter. But that's because we want them to rise. We want them to get nice and poofy, which is what they're doing.
You mess my recipe.
I absolutely love this. It's one of my the experience is part of it. You know, like cooking is always an experience, and it's always sort of part of it is doing the cooking. But this one, more than almost anything else, it just feels like you're doing like a little craft show almost. You know, I'm just making my little balls of takoyaki, and it's called takoyaki pretty much no matter what you put in there. We actually had an idea while we were talking about this program to do takoyaki, but I didn't have the wherewithal to put everything together for it. I think that would have been maybe its own program itself, because let's just be honest, there's so many different ways you could do tacos. But essentially, oh shoot, I forgot to put the scallions in. Oh well, I'll just put them on the top; it'll be fine. So like you could do some chicken with like a little bit of black beans and you make a little like pico to put on top when you're done, and then put like a little cumin and cayenne and paprika in as like part of your toppings, and like you got a takoyaki. So that's you literally can do anything. You can the batter on this is a little bit less experimental friendly. Not to say you can't experiment, but you don't need to experiment as much, because with this, really, what you're doing with the experimentation is with your fillings. You know what you want to put in there, what you can put in there, what you feel comfy putting in there. But yeah, sweet is a really good way to go with this. Really do like you could do chocolate, for instance. Would be really, really tasty, and that's something you could put like cacao in the actual batter, and then also melt a piece of chocolate inside as well. That would be pretty tasty, I bet. Yeah, shrimp would be great for sure. You really can't, like, if you think you can put it in here, as long as it fits in that hole, it's going in. Staff is going to be very happy today. Yeah, and if anybody is still hungry, I don't think the staff is going to eat all these, so I will gladly reheat some if people have requests. I do just want to make sure there's 6. There's not that many. There's only like 4. Never mind. There. Sorry, I take it back. If you stick around until 5 o'clock, then after the staff's eaten, you can take the rest home.
So I made the best oyster stew out of the oysters the other day. It's so good.
I love oyster stew so much. Oh my gosh. Do you mind if I ask, did you cook the oysters in the stew, or did you pour the stew over the top of the oysters?
No, I cooked it just very slightly.
Yeah, okay, cool. One of like our favorite ways to cook oyster stew, in one of the restaurants I used to work at Beach Road, and we'd give you the oyster stew, and then you could like pour the hot broth over it. Like there's like literally just a raw oyster in the bottom, and you just pour it over, and then of course it's piping hot, so oysters cook in like 2 seconds.
Right.
And that's just really fun. I love any kind of, especially in a restaurant, any kind of experience that we only did that for like a week, and then the boss was like, people are freaking out. Like just give us the stew, and so we started doing that instead. But it was a fun set for the moment, People were just like, it's not going to be cooked, and you get it. A couple people return a dish, and it's just not worth it sometimes. Here we go. Great. All right. So some of these are starting to be done. If people want to start to come up to take them from me and have your little textured vegetable protein snack.
Thanks again for 2 hot dogs. I appreciate it.
Of course.
And this is delicious, thank you.
Yeah, I'm so happy you guys have been able to come and enjoy my little obsessions here with me.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Somebody's finally taking
What's up, Leo?
Yeah, I'm not very good at
I got you with the double balls.
Right, now that winter's coming, very, in the summer it's hard. And it's
I only did it when I came.
me too.
There you go.
Well, I mean, it was just.
And now I'm gonna get children in February.
Thanks.
Yeah, of course.
So much fun.
Yeah, of course. I'm so happy that I got to do it with you.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, of course. And so for this one, I would probably like a nice like sweet like thickened soy sauce would be good if you had one. I just don't have a sauce that's like really designed for this one right now, so we kind of got to just make do with what's in it. But it would be fine with the mustard you have too. I think mustard tends to be pretty good with that sort of Asian vibe. Yeah, you can't really go wrong. Any sauce we've got here.
No.
Of course.
A couple of scallions.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot the scallion on top. How could I have done that? So this one, more than the other ones for sure, is definitely leaning pretty heavy on making sure that our batter was well seasoned, plenty of salt and sesame in there, or soy sauce. Okay, sweet. And for those of you who have been waiting, you're welcome to come up and get your 4 if you so desire. You're ready to go. And I'll sort of give you a tour of them if you've forgotten.
Okay, what's what?
All right, so we've got cheese, is that one. The one I just took off is the texture vegetable protein, which is this one. That's the chicken, it's got the scallions in it. That's the hot dog. Where's the chicken? And that's the chicken on this one.
I'm excited to try that.
Yeah, and feel free to take any sauces or anything else you need or want.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's more of a texture thing because it's at this point we've only seasoned it with water. But I really like I said, to season it with other things. Like you can rehydrate it with different things, and it gets like really, really intensely flavored. But you can also just hydrate it and then season it, and it'll still bring up all those flavors. So guys, that's the program. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate you all.
Thank you.
Feel free to hang out, relax. I'm just going to start cleaning up, and I'm going to go tell the staff that they should make sure they try some of these. But we are doing this again next month, and we will keep doing it again all through the winter into January. It's going to be a different batter every time. I'm not allowed to tell you what's happening next month, but I did say what we're doing a couple times during this session. I made some references to some other batters, so if you were paying attention, you may know what's coming next month. Just don't tell anybody, okay? And I think we're going to do it again at the end of the month, and then we'll be doing really rapid fire another one early November because of Thanksgiving. So just keep your eyes out. If you're in the newsletter, make sure you sign up. We're doing the big 24 pre-people classes now, so tell your friends. We haven't had any problems. We were a little under today, so that's great. I want to be able to feed everybody. So tell your friends, let's get us full and rocking. And thanks so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.